Take.
Hey, welcome to Post Market Gems. This is take number 3 of the introduction because we've been struggling. I have Mr. J with me. I'm Great Dane.
Peace.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yes,
so, John, how's child raising? Child raising.
Yeah, it's good. It's amazing. So we have 3 little boys. A lot of great times. Javen, Tyler, and Kyle. So there's usually not a dull moment in the house. I finally have somebody to grow up with. So, you know.
Yeah, they all or Kyle especially takes after his father.
Yeah.
He's a crazy little kid.
I'll take that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Except John can talk.
Yeah. Kyle can too, by the way.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah.
That's on me.
Yeah, definitely.
So you got any stories or anything that you want to share?
A couple. So a couple weeks ago, I was babysitting my kids. My wife went out for the night. I was babysitting, and they needed showers. The youngest one needed a shower, Kyle. And so I took him upstairs, and I put him in the shower, and I went over into the next room and was doing some work and whatever I was doing. Came back to take care of him, to wash him, to get him out, and he's nowhere around. He's not in the bathtub, and there's just this trill of water flowing out of the bathroom. And so I was like, this can't be good. So I go down the steps. I go booking down the steps, and I can't find him anywhere. And I can't find him anywhere in the house. And so I opened the door to go outside, and I got my naked son just running all over the neighborhood outside. So that was one. That was really bad. So I ran out and got him. I don't think any of the neighbors saw, but... So, yeah, that's one.
I may or may not have done that when I was a child. But we won't go into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how about you? You have any child raising experience?
Nope.
Okay.
Haven't done that yet.
All right.
I mean, my little sister's son,
Yeah.
take her to school and, nurture her, teach her about life. But other than that.
Great Dane is not married yet, by the way. So, but he does have a girlfriend, so he's working on it. And so yeah,
a little young yet.
Little young. Yeah, I guess you're only 18, right?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not Amish.
Was that racial?
I don't think being Amish is a race. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a culture.
Things like that are above my knowledge sometimes.
Yeah. So anyway,
you gotta tell them about that time where you hit the garage door or whatever.
Oh yeah. So the other night, this was another one. The other night, I didn't want to drive over my kid, so I put him in our other vehicle while I was backing the other one out to wash.
Big mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. So I sat him in the vehicle in the driver's seat. The door was open. Everything was clear. I looked around me, put the vehicle in reverse. I'm driving out. Crash, bang, boom. And
kaboom!
Yeah, pretty much. And here my kid decided to hit the remote in the other car while I was trying to back out. So now, dent in the new vehicle. Messed up garage door. Never put your kid in a vehicle when there's a remote there. They can push buttons. And he's only 2. So, yep.
He's a pretty smart kid.
Yeah, he is a smart
He's already playing pranks on his dad.
I think it was...
He hangs out with me a little much, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Anyway, so with life going on and, we're kind of in the middle of this coronavirus and everything, what's your take on, churches starting to open back up and things starting to open back up?
I'm okay with it. The whole thing about churches opening up, churches need to open up at some point. You can't be away from your brothers and sisters for too long. But as churches begin to open up, I believe there are some measures of social distancing that should be in place. There's a lot of churches are coming up with creative ways to stay open. I think Mine Road is renting a gym, and they're all sitting as families throughout the gym, spread out, and they don't have Sunday school, and I think that's the way to go. I think that would be the way to do it. Our church isn't doing much of the social distancing thing, and I think we could be doing a better job with that because it is still a threat, and coronavirus is still a thing, and I know we're all trying to get back to normal, but people that we know are actually starting to get it now. So I don't really get why the push to get back to normal is so hard right now.
So can you tell me more of why you think that if we're trying to get back to normal life, trying to get things back to normal again, so what's your biggest hang up with just trying to open things back up and going back to normal. Because the more things you put in place, obviously the more things you're going to have to take away later again.
Well, I mean, that doesn't really make too much sense, because even if we have to get rid of that later, like, we can still ease into it. And I think that's a big thing, if we can just ease into it, and if we don't just go barging in, and then it might spike again, because all of a sudden there's 150 people or 200 people, whatever, just in the same building, and, you know, just around each other and not social distancing, and that's when it can really spread.
So like, is it still a real thing in our community? Is it still something we need to just really be afraid of?
I mean, we need to respect it. I don't know about be afraid of. I wouldn't, like, I know you probably think I'm afraid of it, but I'm not. I respect it. There's a difference. And so many times when you say that you don't want to go out, you're social distancing, people will say you have fear in your life, or you're living in fear. And that really makes me mad, because no, we're not living in fear. We're just being smart. That's the thing. If you're social distancing, you're being smart and you're being respectful to others.
So, like, being in the same building and everything else, you really think the 6 foot apart it helps?
Yeah.
Even if you enter the same building, you congregate into the same building, that thing of sitting 6 feet apart is a big deal.
Absolutely. And, like, the whole thing about having Sunday school and stuff, you're sitting close to people. You're all gathered around in small groups, and yeah, I don't really think that's a good thing. And I mean, I know people want to get back to normal, and people want to have Sunday school and fellowship like that, but we can have a little bit of patience with that. We can ease back into it, don't you think? Or what are you thinking?
I mean, I guess I'm more just like, I'm the type of person that, again, I agree we should probably respect it, but I'd be more on the side of we just need to get things back to normal. I guess I'm pushing more to just, let's just go, let's just get things back to normal. I guess I feel the whole thing anymore, it's way past the coronavirus. Like, I feel it's just this media hype is making everybody afraid, it's making everybody scared, and I honestly just think it's I'm not saying the coronavirus was never real, but I believe it's.
You believe it's less real now than it was? Because the numbers are still way up.
So why?
Because
doctors are getting paid to put coronavirus on a death certificate.
Yeah, I understand that. But
their numbers are still not near what they thought they would be.
Yeah, my argument basis is that the numbers are correct, okay? So that's my argument basis, and that is something. Yeah, there are conspiracies that they're not correct, and that is very possible. But I do believe that they are correct, or they're maybe not exactly correct, but they are accurate, I believe. And so that's the basis of my whole argument. But if we just go right back into it and just go back to normal, then there's a good chance there'll be another spike. Don't you think?
No, I don't actually. I think the more people you get out and you get immune to this thing and get everybody immune to it and get out.
But everybody getting it would be considered a spike, and more people would die, and that is a fact. And so
with everything so here's the thing: hospitals got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of beds and ventilators, like hundreds that they never even use. Like, the numbers aren't anywhere close to what they said they would be.
The numbers are still worse than any virus we've had lately. Or ever.
Are they legitly? Though I'm not convinced that those numbers are legit.
Okay, well, I'm not like 100% sure. Nobody can be 100% sure because nobody knows. But if they are legit, this is like about the worst epidemic that's ever gone through the United States. It is the worst epidemic that's ever gone through the United States.
But the numbers are still lower than the death toll and other causes by this time of the year.
Yeah. Okay. That's the thing. That's the argument that doesn't make any sense. That's a very uneducated argument, and here's why. Yes, those
so
happen.
You're calling me uneducated.
Yeah, or whatever. I'm calling your argument uneducated, and I've said this before, that this is an uneducated argument. I've argued with many people about this. So many people say, oh, the flu kills more people than coronavirus per year. more people die in accidents per year than the coronavirus. More people die this way than the coronavirus. Well, guess what? Those people are still dying right now. The people that are dying from coronavirus are on top of that. They're extra people dying, and that's not good. Just because there's a random number of people that die from the flu or whatever doesn't make coronavirus any better, because that any time. So when the Holocaust happened, millions of people died, but there were still other causes that killed more people than the Holocaust. Did that make the Holocaust any better? That's why I say it's an uneducated argument, because just because people are dying from other causes doesn't make the one cause that's an outlier this year that's extra, that doesn't make that cause any better.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm not saying that that people dying from the coronavirus is a good thing, okay? It's not.
Right.
But I think this whole thing is striking fear into people, and I think the media they're responsible for all of it. I believe this whole thing with the coronavirus is blown way bigger than what it would have to be. I believe I just really believe that this whole thing was more for political power. It had more to do with maybe this election year. I think it had more to do with the Democrats just wanting more against the Republican Party. And you see it now. I mean, there's governors just being jerks. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, we're taught to respect our government, and there was to a certain point where I wanted to, but there's also a certain point where we got to stand up for what we believe is right. And I believe they've stepped over their boundaries way. And I believe they're striking a fear into people, and it's just frustrating me. It's making me mad. And I believe that fear has hit close to home.
Okay, so do you believe that I'm fearful?
I'm not saying that.
Just say what you believe. Say what you think.
Okay, well, I'm not saying that you are afraid, but I believe this whole thing is, I believe the media is striking more of a fear into people. Then I guess my thing is, we can't lie that the death toll is up. But then why is things like the heart attacks, like why is that way down? Deaths from heart attacks, different things. I think the people that are they're calling some of these deaths coronavirus deaths when they're not really. They're putting coronavirus on the death certificate when it's really not the coronavirus.
Okay, so if all these deaths are legit, I don't know if all the deaths are legit. I can't tell. If all the coronavirus deaths are legit, does that change your argument a lot? Like, does that completely flip-flop your argument?
You're saying if all the coronavirus...
If everything that's reported coronavirus is fact.
Okay, well, yeah, that would make a difference, but I don't believe that it is.
So your whole basis of your argument is that there's a lot of fake coronavirus deaths.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe like I said before, I honestly believe, this is just me, I honestly believe that this whole thing, a lot of it is just a media hype. It was something to do with, it has something to do with the Democratic Party trying to tear down the Republican Party, and it's something to do to try and, just tear down the president and anything they can do to get not have it reelected. Now, I'm not saying that the coronavirus didn't come through, but I don't think it's as bad as what everybody, what the general media and everybody's making it sound.
So are you one of those people that believe that that it was like all set up, and that it's a conspiracy? It's a big conspiracy that it was released in China, and it was all to destroy our economy and to make Trump look bad. Are you one of those people that believe in that?
I do honestly believe that. I'm not saying that the coronavirus was intentionally set up, but I believe when this first came out, they started putting out numbers of what could happen. I guess I'm just one to believe that when those numbers didn't reach to what they thought, they had to do something. And so they just start, this thing just starts snowballing and exploding. And I think there's just a lot of rotten people that are per se in charge, or per se maybe in places of authority where they shouldn't be. And I believe they're using this pandemic against our economy, against our nation.
And that could be true. Some of that could be true. But I still don't believe that this is completely political thing. This is a health crisis as well. It's obviously a health crisis more than a political thing. There are people that are using the coronavirus as a political agenda, and they're
and using it to push their own agenda.
Right, correct. And that could be true, but first and foremost, it is a health crisis, and we need to take it seriously like a health crisis.
So here's a question that I have for you. Before this is just one of the many things. So before the doctors and stuff were telling us that masks don't help. Okay, it doesn't help anything. So nobody bought it, and all of a sudden masks help.
Do you know
and
why?
now everybody got to wear it.
Do you know why that is? Do you know why that is? The government.
No, tell me.
The government didn't have enough masks. They didn't. There weren't enough masks available, and so they told people you don't need a mask.
So it was a
big
lie.
lie. Yeah, it was. It was a lie. And
so you really believe those stupid things we need to wear on our faces all day really help?
Yeah, I believe they help.
I believe more people are going to die from breathing in their own breath and their own CO than from the coronavirus. And you know what? I have talked to EMTs that have seen patients die or seen patients sick in the back of their ambulance, and they asked the guy what he was doing that day. He had a mask on for like 5 hours. There's people getting more sick from this, or as sick from this.
So you honestly believe that more people are going to die from wearing a mask?
Okay, now maybe not die, but
then
it's going to do more harm than good. These masks will do more harm than good. If you're forced to wear
serious?
I'm serious. I'm dead serious. To wear this mask will do me more harm than it will
John's
me
had a
good.
rough day today at Market with this mask. He really has.
It's honest. It's honest to goodness. I wear it because we're required to wear it inside. I'm about to sort of protest. But anyway, so, yeah.
I am completely on the other side about that. Masks, they help. But
What do they help? I touch my face more now, adjusting this thing and moving it around and trying.
I touch it less because I think about it. I think about that I'm not supposed to touch my face. I touch it all the time if I don't. Like right now, I don't have a mask, so I'm touching my face. But if I have a mask on, I think about it. I feel that. I go up to touch my face and then I feel that. And also, it also helps with the breathing. Like you're breathing out
your own breath.
Right. You're breathing. The main thing is touching the face, but also you're breathing out germs all the time. And they say that anybody in a 6 foot or anybody within a few feet can contract the virus through the air, and that's a proven medical fact. It can contract the virus through the air, and so the masks do help.
How is it a proven fact? How do they know that somebody contracted the virus through the air?
I have no clue. I read things. I don't go out and test people medically, okay? I read things. All right? I'm not
CNN?
No, not CNN. I am not going out and no, John, I'm not going out and testing every fact that I read.
Okay.
Roast me for that. I don't give a crap. Okay?
Yeah. Well, we should maybe be careful what we read.
Right.
Right.
But I think it is somewhat healthy to read the news. At this point, when the coronavirus is going on this long, it's getting a little much. It makes you weary reading the news because of everything that's going on, and you're just like, oh, shut up about the coronavirus. But when it first started, there were so many people that were uneducated about how bad it was. There's a reason. I don't want school to get shut down, but there's a reason school was shut down. At the point where it was coming out, I was claiming that school's going to get shut down, and I was reading stuff about it and getting scared, or not scared, but getting like aware of it, getting aware of how bad it's going to be. And so many people were like, oh, we'll be off of school for 2 weeks. Oh, this will all be back to normal by April. Oh, I can't wait for April. Can't wait for the end of school year. I was like, maybe, but I kind of feel like it's going to last long because the numbers and the how contagious this virus is. It's not just going to go away. It can't just go away because it's just too contagious. It's one of the most contagious viruses of all time, if not the most contagious virus. There have been people that have been going to visit a loved one that's on the deathbed, and they don't realize they have coronavirus, and that whole family gets coronavirus. Many people from that family get coronavirus. That's just how contagious it is, And also the fact that you don't have to have symptoms in order to have the coronavirus, which everybody we know this stuff because we've all heard this stuff, but
yeah, you don't have to have the symptoms to still be contagious,
right? Which everybody knows that because everybody's heard all this stuff a million times. But all I'm saying is that from reading the news and when it was in the early stages, I realized this, and I realized that that a lot's going to happen, and there were a lot of people that did not think that did not take it seriously at all. And I believe that people use the whole thing about it being a Democratic agenda. People in Lancaster County, because Lancaster County is Republican, and people use it as it being a Democratic agenda to just do what. That way they can just do what they want. They don't have to, because social distancing sucks. It really, really does. But if you believe it's just an agenda, and then you can justify going out and not social distancing. And I believe people use that. I really do.
So why do you think that, like, it's interesting for market? Like the first week, when this all came out, we were really slow. But the last 2 weeks have been insane. I mean, there's just been we've had to, not let people in. The management had to like shut down for, have people in line and only allow a certain amount of people in the building at a time, because that's the only way we were allowed to stay open.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Like, people are just sick of being inside.
Yeah. Which it's how it's going to be.
Don't you think that's going to be for the better? They'll get people out, get them immune to it, and try and move on.
Yeah, that is one way to go about it, and I understand that is a way that a lot of people want, and that's a way that it would work, but a lot of people would die from that. And the whole thing about flattening the curve, you don't want everybody to get it at once, and that's what happened in France. That's what happened in New York City.
So how about Sweden, though?
What happened in Sweden?
They decided to take the route, like, they're just not going to shut things down, and they've proven it that it's not just exploded like people said it would if you don't shut things down.
How many cases are in Sweden?
I don't even know. I don't know their numbers, but I know they let things open and it's not exploded like.
See, I don't know their numbers, but I do know that they have that their numbers are less than the U.S. and I want to say significantly less. I need to look it up, but I want to say significantly less than the U.S. And that's the difference. We have some of the most cases in the world. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but we have a ton of cases in the U.S. And so there would be the potential, if everybody would get it at once, that the hospitals would be overflowed. And stuff like that happened in New York. Stuff like that happened in Italy. And it got really, really, really ugly in New York. And I know that for a fact. We talked to Jonathan for a while that one day, and he was saying about the one story about how he was walking past a hospital in New York and he saw coronavirus patients in the back of a truck. They were all.
He didn't know for sure if they were coronavirus patients.
Okay, why?
He saw patients in the back of a U-Haul truck.
He saw dead bodies in the back of a truck, and one of them, they took one of them, and they were wearing protective gear.
Right.
And they took.
So we assumed they were.
We assumed they're coronavirus patients. They took one of those bodies, took it away in a U-Haul truck. That's how bad it was. The morgues were completely full, and they had to take a body away in a U-Haul truck, and they just had them in the back of trucks, in plain sight. And that's like how bad there were hospitals in Queens that didn't have enough beds, and people died in the waiting room, and all this stuff. And now would be more equipped for that, but there's a possibility that it would overflow the hospitals, and that's why people want to flatten the curve.
So I also, like I said before, I'm not going to say that a loss of a life, I don't take that into consideration.
Right, I get that. You don't want to kill people.
But
I understand.
I'm not one that's just going to go out and shoot people. But I also feel strongly that we do need to take care of our older people. We need to try not to visit our older people. We need to take care of older people because they're the most vulnerable. But I guess I just don't feel like shutting down businesses and shutting down counties and making people stay at home. I guess I just feel more like, those that are older should stay at home, and we still need to, if we don't want our economy to completely crash, we still need to keep going.
Right.
I guess for the government, like, who are they to say that a business is non-essential if that's what's putting bread and butter on somebody's table?
Yeah, I hear you, and I don't believe that all the things about when they shut down construction. I don't think that was good, and I don't believe that Tom Wolf is a good governor either. I'm not under that impression, but certain things that they put in place are helpful. The mask thing, I believe that is a good thing. I believe that's what that is the right choice for them to do. I believe that they have made some good decisions. They've made some bad decisions, but I don't believe that everything they were doing, like shutting, like some businesses, some of the small businesses that could potentially, that are obviously non-essential, were shut down, and that's what they needed to do at that point. At some point, they do have to open stuff up, and with how people are social distancing still, and how people are staying 6 feet apart, and they're with certain procedures, I believe that things should open up.
And I believe it's completely essential that our county, not only our county, that our state, country, nation, whatever you want to say, it's completely essential that we start opening things up.
Yeah.
Because there's people's well-beings at stake here, and and honestly, this is how I feel. I really hope, and I prayed for this. This was really my hope through all of it. Not everybody's going to feel the same, okay? Not everybody's going to feel the same, even the way we do church. Like, not everybody's going to agree to come back to church and still have Sunday school and do church the way we did normally. Some people think, but I really hope that those that want to come to church can come to church and be okay with those that stay at home. And then those that stay at home are okay with those that come out to church.
Yeah,
and I believe it's going to be essential when we start opening this. Not everybody's going to do it the same. Not everybody's going to feel the same. But we need to remember what Abraham Lincoln told us, and that's united we stand and divided we fall.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it's also the spiritual thing going on of Satan just wanting to destroy like humanity and people and fellowship. And so we just got to be careful that we don't let that come and start dividing churches and nations and that kind of thing. And I just feel like there's just this giant civil war going on, and it's good versus evil.
Yeah. So one more question about the whole churches opening up thing. So how do you feel about like our church is one of the only churches that's having Sunday school and having all these things? How does that make you feel? Like,
this is just me personally. I'm okay. Like, I'm okay with getting together, having Sunday school, opening up the Word of God. If I sit down and somebody decides they want to sit 6 feet from me, I'm not going to be offended. If somebody doesn't want to come for Sunday school, that's fine. If somebody just wants to come for the regular service, I believe we're, one thing that we did put in place, we talk about the things we don't. We're asked not to come before church starts. We come in and, we're ushered in, we sit down, and again, afterwards, we're ushered straight outside, and anybody that wants to stay around for fellowship needs to do it outside, not inside.
So those are like minimal. I would like to see them make a little more of an effort to like social distance, but like I said, or like we both agreed on, there shouldn't be judgment either way, because that is united we stand, divided we fall. And I choose not to attend because I should shut that off. I choose not to attend because
Sorry, my phone is ringing.
There we go, turn it off. I choose not to attend because I don't think that they're quite social distancing enough and quite making the efforts there. And so that's why I choose not to attend, but I'm okay if you choose to attend.
Yeah, and I'm okay if you choose not to attend. I really do. I guess I just feel more, I'm just one that I feel like I'm so ready to just get back to normal life, and I feel like I'm not sure that it's going to be a bad thing. Again, we need to protect those that are vulnerable. If I can't tell the older people they can't come, to church. But I guess I just would feel more like if an older person's going to come, I'm not sure if it's going to be much difference if I sit beside him or 6 feet from him. I guess that's a little where we differ.
It's science. The closer you are, the more germs spread. See, air, it's like a thing that is like divides you, and so the farther you away, the harder it is to travel far. See, if you want to travel 1 mile, that's a lot easier than traveling like 10 miles. Am I right? It's the same way for other things.
Again, like you said before, you can roast me on this.
It's the same way for other things.
I don't mind that. Yeah, you're allowed to roast me. I really don't mind.
Okay, but another thing, there is judgment for people that don't go to church, and I know that for a fact. I talked to some people about me not going to church, and there was a lot of eyebrows raised, and I don't want to judge people for going to church, and I think it should completely be the same way the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's got to be a two-way street. We said this from when we opened. You know, there was those pushing to open church back up. There was those that didn't want to open church back up. But I think those that were hungry for fellowship and ready to get together to hear the word of God together. I know there's many ways to worship. You don't need to, you know. I think we had a great plan in place. You know, the live stream, and I think that was great. But I was really ready to be together with a body of believers again.
Well, yeah,
I was so ready.
I am too. Don't get me wrong.
I hear you.
You can't say that just because I'm not coming to church doesn't mean I don't want the fellowship.
That's not what I.
You said there were some of us that were hungry for fellowship than there were others. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. I want to go back to church, but I choose not to because I don't think it's wise at this point. If there's no social distancing in place.
And hey, like we said, I agree to disagree. So, you know, I'm fine with that. You're more than welcome to stay home if you want.
Thank you.
That's fine with me.
Thank you very much.
If you give me the privilege of going to church.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go to church. Is that what you're saying? All right, that's great. All right, so that was a little bit of a debate here we had. Obviously, things were brewing already today at Market. We knew we were going to be talking about this. We knew we differ on this. So, yeah.
John was all up in a tizzy today.
I was. I really, well, over that time. Anyway. So we really started, but I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely drop in the comments below. I'm sure there's going to be some that think my view is absurd. Maybe more will go with Great Dane's view. I don't know.
Since we are Republican here in Lancaster, more people are going to say I'm absurd than you. So
well, whatever.
I'm okay with that.
Whatever. I was ready and hungry for fellowship, and that's why I chose to go back to church. I feel like I'm just one of those. I want to rip my mask off and just get back to life.
We all do.
I know.
We all do, but sometimes it's just not wise. Peace out, guys.
Peace.